Hey guys, what's up? Theterrainguy here. Just giving you the update. I apologize I didn't get any updates up yesterday. I went to make a video and the battery in the camera was dead, so of course I didn't get one uploaded or even made that night. So I did do some work yesterday. As you can see, I've progressed a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do basically yesterday's update today, and then I'll do some further updates for today's work a little later in the day. So what did I do so far? Basically what I did, I'm just going to move this out of the way. I did the base coating, just basically what I said I was going to do. The medium color there and here. I did the light continuing through the inside. Left the road right here, just wood color so far, or just wood color. And then I did some medium coloration here and extended the light into there. So basically, that's just going to give me a nice transition. I want to make the bocage pockets defined as pockets and define it by the grass covering as well. I brought it down here, and because this is going to be connecting to this will also be light. So that's what I did in terms of just base coating. That's nothing, it's just painting. No secrets or spectacular effects there. The next thing that I did is I painted up down here. This was blue, so now it's black. It's with the base coat. I progressed a little bit further over here as well. Down here I did around the fringe. You can see I did this. This is now hard. I did two textures of or two sizing of ballast. I did small or a fine grain and a coarse grain. So I skipped medium. And this is actually brown color. I typically use dark brown, but I actually went with the brown this time, and I think I like the effect a little bit nicer. It's a little bit closer to the wheat color, and doesn't make the transition quite as heavy. So I took that all the way around the board, and how I did that, I'll just explain to you. I took some weld bond glue, and I put that into a cup. This cup here. I filled it up to right where you see the ribs, and then I did water 2 ribs high. So I'd say probably about a 5-to-1 ratio glue to water. I mix that up in a cup, and I'll just give you the consistency here. It's quite thick. I'll just paste them on here. It's thick enough that it doesn't run unless I drop some really thin glue on it. So it takes a while to start running. It's very viscous, but it's not as viscous as it comes straight out of the bottle. So put a little bit of water just to improve the flow. First thing I did is I took the 2 tones of the 2 sizing of ballast. I want to call it tones. It's one color. Here is the fine brown ballast. This comes in a small bag like that. Then I took the same color, but in the coarse. So it's the coarse one. And I mixed them together in a cup. I did about a 3-to-2 ratio of coarse to fine. So I went a little more with the coarse. I find if you go too much with the fine, then what happens is it actually overshadows the coarse. And I really actually want the coarse turf to be the one that's most predominant. So when you get down here, you can see picking out the coarse turf. I'm going to come in with a nice light dry brush after, and it will highlight the tops of that. But the fine ballast fills in the holes so that you don't show the brown through. But that's the reason why you painted it brown underneath there as well, is because if you do have that, it gives it a nice shadow. So you get a depth. You get basically 3 layers: your base color, your fine ballast, and then your coarse. So that's what I did all the way around there. So that kind of finishes that off in terms of ground cover. The wheat, then the brown, then the rock's going to come over that. What else do I want to show you? Slide that out. I just want to give you, I did get the rocks all dried up. Now here's the 2 piles. It's a little hard to tell here because you can't see the variation quite as well, but this is the unclean and this is the clean. If you come close here, you can start to see, possibly, you can start to see some of the red tinges in the rocks, where here I find everything appears gray. Now it might not show up on camera at all, but I assure you this looks substantially different than this. Another thing too is when you start doing the glaze, when you mix it in with the slurry of glue, it will put a shine on these rocks and the colors will pop even more. So they're about to go on these hedges, and as you can see, obviously this is a new feature. If you've seen my bocage video before, you'll know what this is, but this is a small gauge mesh. I believe it's a 1/2 inch squares, and what I do is I cut strip between 8 and 6 squares, and just make a nice fold point, so either at 4 or 3 squares in, and I bend it together to make so it's wide, and then I bend it in half, and then I open it up and space it so you get kind of this V shape like that. And as I go along, I start to create some bends. So I've bent it here, dropped it down a little lower, nice high rise, so here it doesn't touch, here it is touching. And if I want a really higher rise in it, what I do is I grab an additional piece and I put that on top. So you can see, I'll just take you along there, there's a bump, then a flat, then a bump, then a low rise, then a high rise. Then I have to leave some spaces here because that's actually where the board, the corner is. You cover that in with your foliage. Then it bumps up again to a nice high point. It drops low and goes around, and so forth, and so forth. Over here I went with a 4 on each side. Here I went with a 3 on each side. That's implying that 3 squares, 3 squares, 4 squares, 4 squares. So this makes it a little bit higher. Now this will create your nice variation in your hedge, so it's not straight and flat. Over here I got a really big dip. It dips down low, almost ground level, then pops up and then off into a nice slope here. So that's the pre-stage for the bocage. Then the next thing is going to be adding the foliage. I got the glue gun ready to go here, big glue sticks, and then the last thing I want to show you in this video before I get started was the 2 tones of flock I'm going to use, or clump foliage. Here I have, this is obviously called clump foliage, but this is the burnt grass color. Grab a piece out so the bag doesn't fall down. There you go, this burnt grass, and it's kind of an olive color. And the other one I'm going to use is, you can use single tones, dual tones, tritones, whatever you like. I tend to mix it up. I do a lot of 2 tones, and then some I do tri, but I do like the monotones as well. I particularly like these 2 colors together. The one that's closest to camera is light green, and then the olive, but when pressed together, they're not so dramatic that you get the sort of stripy look, but they're very, they complement each other a lot, I find. So that's the 2 I'm going to go with for this first section, just to see how that looks, and that'll dictate the rest of the board, just kind of what I want to go with. And if you get to a point where you want to transition to something else, gradually transition. Don't make hard lines. Like, don't go olive and then light and then go all medium. It'll look crazy if you have that sharp line, but you can certainly work the small bits of medium in and fade out one color or fade out both colors, and then pick it up with the hard lines after, and then you can carry that around until you want to blend it off to another one. So I think that's everything that I got to show you that's new. So ballast, undercoat, inside ribs, rocks are ready to go, types of foliage I'm going to use, and that's it for yesterday's update, and then I'll progress and make a video for today's work. So stay tuned. Cheers.